Hey everybody, how you doing? This is about to be a really fun video. I'm looking myself in the monitor. I look kind of goofy. I just cut my hair and I just cut my beard off. I cut my hair like once every month, sometimes every other month. Anyways, what are we talking about today? We're talking about catching deers. I love doing these type of polls because I'm super interested to get you guys' perspective and to see how it aligns with my perspective when it comes to catching deers all over the United States, whether you're in Florida, Montana, Illinois, Mississippi, Maine, wherever you're at. Your state has its own regulations. Some of y'all only allowed to hunt for like a week, which is crazy in my mind. And then, like, if you're in Tennessee, our bow season opens up in September, and we can deer hunt, whether it's archery, muzzleloader, bow lot, slangers, all the way to about the second week of January every year, which when I tell people that, they're like, what? But yeah, that's how the South is. You come to the South, we can hunt like 3-4 months, whitetail, and that's just the way it's always been. But yeah, but for this one, I did a poll. As of right now, when I'm filming this, in 12 hours, or 20 hours, 4,600 of y'all voted, and I truly appreciate it. Make sure you got the notifications on, so when we do these polls, you can participate and give us your opinion in these surveys. But in 20 hours, 4,600 people voted, and here's what I said. I said, would you rather get a guaranteed decent 6-point buck, and I put up this picture as reference, or would you rather get a good 10-point buck, and I put up a picture like this, guaranteed every 5 years. And I put in the bottom that says, note, you are not allowed to take does ever. And so, meaning the only deer you would get ever is a guaranteed 6-point every year, or a guaranteed 10-point every 5 years. And I said no does because if it was me, I would answer it, oh yeah, I'll take a bunch of does every year. In Tennessee, we can take a bunch of does. Everywhere in the South, pretty much, you can take a bunch of does. And then I'll just get a nice buck every 5 years. And I'll just get a bunch of does and meat in the off years. Well, a bunch of y'all didn't read the whole question and said exactly that. I'm taking the big 10-point because I'm going to smoke a bunch of does in the off years. So some of y'all didn't read the question and kind of skewed the results. But the answer that I got, which I was happy to see, honestly kind of surprised, was the answer that I would say. The majority of y'all are aligned with me, saying you would take the 6-pointer every year. That answer was 61% of y'all. So 4,600 of y'all voted. 61%, so close to 2/3, said they'd rather have a decent 6-point every year than wait and get a good 10-point every 5 years. And really, I'm going to go ahead and say that that's probably more 70 to 75% because so many people said, nah, I'll just wait 5 years and get does, every year, which is what I said you couldn't do. Come on, man, you got to read the whole question. Anyways, yeah, that's exactly what I would pick. I'd rather have a good 6-pointer every year than only take a buck every 5 years. That's just me. So it's all about perspective. I'm going to talk about that a little bit, but first let's dive into the comments and just see what some of you guys said here. Check this out. All right, so like I said, let's get into some of these comments and just see what you guys had to say. I'll take option 3, get as many does as I can. That wasn't an option. You got to pick one out of the two. This guy says, I utilize everything of the animals. That didn't answer really anything either. This guy says, I choose the 6-point because that means you get a deer every year and you can't eat the horns. A lot of guys said can't eat the horns. This one says, I got nothing to prove, but I still need to eat every day. Another one, I like option 1. I like meat, so getting a nice 6 would be cool. I got a nice 6 this year, and I was tickled to death and super happy to get it. What else you guys saying? Mounts are awesome. In this age, there's no telling which shoe's going to drop next. Be happy with the 6-point every year. 6-point for sure. This one says, I don't have time to go out anymore, so option 2 is great. Go out once every 5 years anyways. This one says, Adamantly prefer no guarantees ever. It's called hunting. I don't really believe you. Everyone's going to pick a guaranteed. You just opened a can of worms. This guy says, I usually take the first mule deer I see with an inside spread more than their ears. A lot of people go by that. Another one, option 1, which is the 6-pointer. Mouse to feed, but trophy is a bonus. This guy says his dogs love the antlers and don't care how big they are. This one says, I get between 1 and 6 most years. This year we are allowed 5. This one says, nice to see more people wanting to feed their families than just looking for a dust collector. What else you guys talking about? Lots of comments on here. Some of them interesting. Like I said, there were quite a few that didn't read the questions, said they'd be happy with a 10-pointer because they'd still go smoke a bunch of does. I haven't got a buck since 2016, but I've knocked down plenty of does. At this stage, I only take big bucks or bucks with really unique character. Here's one that says, let's define good 6-point. Most 6-points are young bucks. If you mean a 3 to 4 year old 6-point, then I'm all in for that. Meat in the freezer. Neither option matters. I see a trend in the comments. Filling freezers seems more prevalent than wall decor. I really like this one from Charles Morgan. Option 1, 6-point times 5 years equals 30 points compared to a 10-point. Let's get 30 points instead of the 10. I like that perspective. This guy says, I may have an idea that's better. Start a deer farm and only get the older deer. Yeah, but that's expensive to do deer farming. Another one says, you can't eat the antlers. This one says, I'm lucky I have family-owned property that has produced the opportunity for me to get at least one 8-point every year. This guy says, I would take a guaranteed spike every year at this point. Can't even get a tag every year in Utah. See, that's a good perspective. I'll go for the meat before the rack. That says Minnesota life, which that's interesting because I don't think there's many monster bucks coming out of Minnesota. I've taken so many deer that now my son hunts, he can do whatever he wants. Now I only get 10s or better. They're too fuzzy, I don't think. I would take the 10 every 5 years as I raise sheep meat. First guarantees meat that will feed my family. Poor people hunt to eat. Rich people hunt trophies and leave the meat to spoil. Alright, so here's somebody that actually read the instructions. It says, I was all about option 2, meaning the big 10-point, until I saw no does. I enjoy venison and love the opportunity on big deer, but if I had to choose between no venison for 4 years or venison every year and big bucks, I'm taking the venison. Another one, if I can't get does, I'll be getting the 6s. Rather fill the freezer, 6 every year. I hunt for food. I have 6-pointers bigger than some 10-pointers. He's taking the big ones. You only get so many years of hunting. I'm taking out every year I can. Only 10 points or better on my walls. Otherwise, I eat chicken and ribeye and tons of wahoo. Wahoo, is that a fish? This one says, I'll take the big 10 as long as I can still buy bonus tags. Can get bonus 6 points. Nope, that wasn't in there. Or roadkill. This guy says, culling runting bucks and does every year so I get the opportunity at a trophy every 5 sounds good to me. He didn't read the question either. It said the 10-point had to be your only deer. This guy says if I'm taking does every year, I'd take the 10-point. He didn't read the question either. This guy didn't read the question either. Guaranteed 10-point every 5 years, I can get does for meat. Then I said, no, you can't do that. Then he said, okay. In that case, I would either only get does for meat and not get any bucks, or if it came to it, not get any deer at all. Interesting in the comments. Alright, so what this really boils down to, guys, is access. And there's a podcast that I listen to. They also put them up on YouTube. It's Hunter, Huntr. It's a good podcast. They talk about controversial stuff like this, and they've said some similar to the things that I've said in the past. It all comes down to access. And one of the comments there that we looked at kind of alluded to it. It said, rich people hunt for trophies, poor people hunt for meat. In so many other words, that boils down to access. Meaning, Rich people have more access to land. Poor people are hunting public land and are happy to see a deer and take that doe or small buck for meat. It all comes down to access. There's lots of comments. I read every single one. Few of them said, oh, we got family farms. You know, we never take anything unless it's either a monster 8 or a 10 point or bigger. See, that's different. You got a family farm, or if you get some rich buddies that have 1,000-acre leases and let you come hunt, that's different. Then, yeah, you're not taking a small buck. But I'll give you an example. All of the public land within an hour's drive of me pretty much has no deer on it. And that's just a fact. People don't want to believe me when I say it. Not this past year, but the year before, I spent 25 full-day hunts on public land near me, on the 2 nearest public spots near me. Out of 25 all-day trips, I saw 1 deer, and that was a back end of a doe for a split second. So there are people say, oh, you don't put your time in. You know, you put your time in, you know what you're doing, you're going to get them. Nope. I put in 25 days plus, and saw the back end of 1 doe 1 time. So all comes back to access. If you have access to hunt private land, you're probably going to be more selective. And yeah, if you don't, you're probably just going to go to blasting. Or like in Tennessee here, we have September to January to try to get 2 bucks. We get 2 buck tags. If you only have a week, you're probably just going to go to blasting at the first buck that you see. That's a pretty blanket statement, but I think of all the hundreds and thousands of people that I talked to, and a lot of the comments and the results of the poll that I did, that's what they said. And what I say is it all comes down to access. You know, there's the comment, rich people shoot trophies. There's a lot of truth to that. Rich people can afford to take more days off work. Rich people can afford to travel and go take a big deer off private land, or they have their own private land, or they got other rich friends that have lots of private land. For the poor man, the regular blue-collar dude like you and me, it's not easy to get big deer. You live in a neighborhood, and you got a family, and you got a full-time job. You might only get to get away for a Saturday once, twice, 3 times, maybe 4 times during deer season, depending on where you live and what your job is. You know, if you hunt, if you work days, you obviously can't hunt deer at nighttime. You go to church on Sunday, well, then that leaves you Saturday. And yeah, deer season's over real quick. So, I'm not going to keep rambling. It all comes down to access and your perspective from your particular state. If everyone loves big bucks, there were some of those comments that say, I don't care about the antlers. Yes, you do. You just don't have the access to get the big antlers. And I'm in that boat right there with everybody. I've shot a couple real big deer. I've shot 1 13-pointer off public. That was back when I hunted every day, because I didn't have family, I wasn't married, and I could hunt every day. So if you can hunt every day and travel to go to different public land spots across your state, which is what I did, I got a big 13-pointer off public land. That was like 15 years ago. But most people don't. I know a couple single guys that do that and take big deer. But most people don't have the time to put into it to go find the big ones. They have a day or 2 or 3, like I said, to go chase deers. And you're probably going to get the first one that pops out. Now, again, if you got the private land, you got a big lease, you got the extra spare time, you're not having to bust it 5, 6, 7 days a week to pay the bills, then you can go sit out on the porch and just watch them come out in the cut corn and pop them from the porch, you know. But that's a different situation. All that being said, I love hearing from you guys. Thanks to everyone who voted. Roughly 70% of people in the U.S. would rather take a 6-pointer every year than a good 10-point every 5 years. But hey, I love seeing you guys' perspective, and seeing what you would rather do. Me, I'm picking a good 6-point every year over a good 10-point every 5. It's just my background and my perspective, which apparently aligns with 70% of America. Hey, appreciate you watching. Thanks for tuning into the show. Make sure you subscribe. Make sure you've gone and checked out WHOTEEWHO.com. Signed up for the newsletter. We'll see you guys on the next one. WHOTEEWHO!
Load it up and get it on as soon as you can. 30-06, 10 mil, 50 cal. It don't make a difference, man. We like to shoot at